Hello, Mark here with Shooting Target 7. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. If you've purchased these and have been having problems with your cams falling off and can't figure out why, this video is for you. If you're about to purchase and don't want to experience that, it's also for you. All right, before we start, let's run down the components real quick. Here's a heavy-duty super hanger. You have the main body, you have the locking cam, carriage bolt, and nylock nut. The parts are similar for the standard duty. And let's go. Okay, to determine what hole to use in your locking cam, we have a compatibility sheet. It is available on the listing. I'll also be making a full-scale printable PDF downloadable key as well for your reference. But this is the portion we need to pay attention to. What I like to do is just grab one of my cams and reference the compatibility chart and circle with marker the hole that I need to use for the thickness of target that I'm going to be mounting these with. For example, if ½ inch, obviously you get that hole. 3/8 inch would be this hole down here, and the side opposite that hole is always the side that will face against the target. Let me go just a bit deeper here to clarify that. Let's assume this is a ½ inch target. Now you can see that this cam is oriented the same way as the one here in our key. So we know that we need to use this hole and this face, and you can see that's exactly how it's oriented here on the target hanger. Okay, this is usually where things go off the rails, so please pay attention. This part here is crucial. Now you can see on my cam I've marked the correct hole as I indicated earlier, but this is where things get sideways. Okay, if this is how you're assembling them and you're putting the cam on first, it is impossible to put the cam on correctly doing this, and I'll explain why. So if you've been doing this, you probably think I'm an idiot. You're probably sick of your cams loosening up, and you're wondering why the hell I would build something like this. This is one of those complicated questions. Like if your wife ever asks you if you find one of her girlfriends attractive, you got to put some thought into it, okay? So let's do that. Okay, let's continue on as if you had put the cam on first. That allows only two positions, this position here. And let's break down what's going to happen in this scenario. When the bullet hits the target face here, it's going to put a lot of force on the target in this plane here. Now that's going to try to push the target back, which will impose forces in two areas. Here, up against the top of the target itself, and here on the locking cam. Now only one of those are going to move. Because the point of force on the locking cam here is above the pivot point on the mounting bolt below, that's going to impart a rotational force in this direction, which is going to loosen up your cams. And the only thing stopping it is the tension on the nylock bolts and nuts. And eventually your cams are going to end up hanging on the bottom like this, with that being the second position that was possible. Luckily, that's not the correct way to put these together, and I'll show you the correct way here in a second. We'll take it from the top. Okay, this is the most important part here. The target must go on the hanger first.
Bam! Just like that. That's all there is to it, Dustin. That's all there is to it. A winner! Just like that. We'll be right back. More Price is Right. Don't go away.
Then the carriage bolt, then the cam, and you can see I'm in the correct hole as it's still marked, and now the face is squarely up against the back side of the target. Now let's take a look at what that means. So now when it gets shot by the bullet and the forces impart force on the target, which will in turn impart force up top and against the cam, just as before. Instead of the point of force on the cam being above the pivot point, it is now in line with it. So there are no rotational forces on the cam. And even if there were, it can't rotate because it would have to shear the bolt. Here I've left the cam intentionally loose, and you can see that you cannot get to, it won't rotate. It's locked in place there by the target itself. So if you've been frustrated by that, I have to apologize. This video really should have been done a long time ago. You know, a lot of times I make up these products or whatnot, and I know them intimately, and it's very difficult for me to see products as a customer would. So I don't always do the best job of explaining things, and I'm going to try and do better on that. We do point it out on the website, but you know, people don't always read the descriptions very well, and life moves pretty fast these days, so it can be difficult to get people to notice what you want them to at times, so I understand that as well. Okay, one last thing here before I wrap this up. That's about the nylock nuts. If you've been using these cams incorrectly, they've no doubt come off numerous times by now, and you've had your nylocks off and on several times. It's important to note that this little nylon ring here you see, that loses its effectiveness roughly about 25% every time that's taken off and removed. So if your nuts have been off and on several times, they're no longer lock nuts, and they may fall off even if you install the cams the correct way simply from the vibrations. So if you need some new nylocks, we'll have those available on the website here shortly, and we'll make them available at a reasonable price. Well, that's about it. I hope this video helps. I'm sorry it took so long to get this out. Take care and let freedom ring.